Snow made crunching sounds under big, heavy paws as a huge animal carefully placed a cold, shivering, and crying baby on a doorstep covered with frost. Githa Morales opened her heavy wooden door and saw not a scary monster, but a desperate call for help. One child became 2, then 5. She never sent any of them away. She did not know whose special children she was raising. Frost stuck to the roof made of straw on Githa Morales's lonely little house. It was deep in a very cold winter in the year 1432. She lived on the rough edges of the village called Oakhaven. The young widow knew what it felt like to be alone. Her husband, a simple blacksmith named Thomas, had died from a bad sickness 3 years earlier. He left her with a small garden, a group of stubborn goats, and quiet evenings that felt too loud with emptiness. That quietness broke on a Tuesday night. A steady, worried scratching sound at her strong door pulled Githa from her light sleep by the fire. She grabbed the heavy iron poker that Thomas had made, unlatched the strong lock, and expected to see a hungry animal looking for food. Instead, she saw a very large wolf with silver fur standing on her porch. In its strong mouth, it held a bundle wrapped in soft wool. Githa froze. Her fingers turned white as she held the iron poker tightly. The big animal did not attack or jump at her. It gently placed the bundle on the cold wooden porch, took 3 slow steps back, and looked straight into her eyes with bright amber eyes. It made a low, sad sound, then turned and disappeared into the dark trees. Hesitantly, Githa stepped out into the freezing cold. The bundle was moving. She pulled back the wool folds and gasped. Inside was a tiny baby, no older than 6 months old. The baby had dark hair and beautiful shining golden eyes. "Lord have mercy," she whispered. She quickly carried the freezing child inside to the warmth. This was only the start. Githa thought it was a strange and scary one-time event. But exactly 3 nights later, another wolf came. This one had a dark reddish-brown coat and pulled a woven basket with its teeth. Inside was a scared toddler, about 3 years old, holding a small carved wooden toy. Over the next 2 weeks, more children kept arriving. Soon Githa's small house was full of life and noise. She wrote down the names of the children in her late husband's notebook to help keep her thoughts clear. There was Tobias, the 3-year-old boy who was very protective of the others. He did not like sleeping in a bed and preferred the cold floor near the fire. There were Beatrice and William, 2-year-old twins with the same golden eyes. They had special strength and could easily pull heavy wooden cupboard doors off. Clara was the first baby. She needed goat's milk all the time and already had unusually sharp teeth for such a little one. John was a quiet 4-year-old who came with deep cuts across his back. Githa used all her knowledge of herbs and plants to help him heal and live. Taking care of 5 children was a very big job for one woman whose husband had passed away. Githa used up all her winter food supplies in just 1 week. She had to walk to the village of Oakhaven every day, pulling a wooden sled to buy extra grain, heavy wool, and lots of salted meat. Her big shopping trips did not go unnoticed. Lord Canon Jimenez was the village magistrate. He was a very cruel man who noticed everything. He did not like the edges of his land, and he especially did not like Widow Morales because she had refused his offers after her husband died. One morning in the market square he spoke to her. His gloved hands rested on his sword. "Feeding a small army, Widow Morales?" His narrow eyes looked carefully at her sled. 3 sacks of flour and a whole side of beef. "Your goats must be very hungry these days." "Winter is long, my lord," Githa replied in a calm voice, keeping her eyes down like she was being respectful. "I am just getting ready for the worst storms," Canon said with a mean smile. "Make sure you do. The woods are dangerous lately. There is terrible howling at night. Some people say demons in the forest are restless. It would be sad if my guards had to burn the woods and everything close to it to keep the village safe." Githa hurried home with her heart beating fast. Her life was already hard, but the real danger showed itself on the night of the full moon. As the pale moonlight came through the small cracks in her wooden window covers, the cottage became very wild. The children, who had been talking and playing, suddenly became quiet. Little Tobias dropped down to his hands and knees, his back arched in a strong way. Githa watched in complete terror as the boy's skin moved strangely. Thick dark fur grew on his arms. His jaw changed shape. In moments, a small, strong wolf pup stood where the boy had been. All around the room, the other children changed too. The twins became smaller, fluffy, reddish pups. Even baby Clara grew patches of silver fur, and her cries turned into high puppy sounds. Githa backed up against the wall and slid down to the floor. She was taking care of werewolves. The old stories her grandfather told about shapeshifters from the northern mountains were true. If the church found out, or if Lord Canon learned the truth, they would all be burned. A small wet nose gently touched her shaking hand. Tobias, now a pup, made a soft whining sound and rested his furry head on her knee. He looked up at her with those golden eyes, full of very human fear. He was asking for comfort. Taking a deep, shaky breath, Githa reached out and gently stroked the pup's rough fur. "I've got you," she whispered in the dim room. "I will not send any of you away." Keeping everything secret became a very hard test every day. During the day, Githa took care of 5 human-looking children. She taught them to stay quiet and hid them in the root cellar when travelers walked on the main road. At night, she cared for a group of active wolf pups who chewed chair legs, chased the scared goats, and needed lots of raw meat. She did not know where the children came from until the 6th visitor arrived. It was a cold Tuesday evening. The wind was howling so loudly that it covered the sound of footsteps. A heavy thud hit her front door, followed by rough, tired breathing. Githa told Tobias to hide the younger ones in the cellar before she opened the door. A man fell into her entryway. He was strong and broad, wearing torn leather armor stained with blood. Deep claw marks cut across his chest. "Help," he gasped, coughing hard. Githa pulled him toward the fire. Her skills as a healer took over. She grabbed clean linen bandages and a bowl of hot water. As she cut away his armor, she saw a heavy iron medallion on his chest, with a crest showing a wolf wearing a crown. "You are one of them," Githa said quietly, as she put thick yarrow paste on his bad wounds. The man gasped and held her wrist with surprising strength. "My name is Richard. I was a captain of the Royal Guard for the Osborne Pack." Githa's breath caught. The Osborne Pack was a story told to scare tax collectors, a big organized group of werewolves ruled by a powerful alpha king. "Why are your wolves bringing me children?" Githa asked. Her voice shook but stayed firm. "I am only a human widow. I have nothing to give them." Richard gave a weak smile. "Not just any human. You are the healer of Oakhaven. Years ago you helped an old beggar on the road. You treated his bad leg when the village left him to die. That beggar was the king's most trusted elder. He told the king about your great kindness and your ability to keep secrets. The king sent the children to you. King Henrik Osborne." Richard's breathing became weaker. He explained that their pack was breaking apart from inside trouble. There was treason. A bad group in the High Council was slowly poisoning King Henrik with wolfsbane in his food. They were making him weak and killing others in the Alpha family line. Anyone with the strong golden eyes was in danger. The king's loyal friends knew they could not keep the young ones safe inside the castle, so they secretly brought them to the one human the king believed would not hurt them. "The heirs," Richard whispered as his eyes grew dim. "You hold the future of our whole people in your cellar." Tobias was King Henrik's oldest son, the crown prince. Richard did not live through the night. Githa buried him in the frozen ground behind her cottage. She wrapped him in a good wool blanket. Her mind was full of the heavy truth. She was not just running a small home for children. She was protecting a royal family in hiding. Her new scary reality was suddenly interrupted the next morning. Loud pounding shook her front door. Before Githa could open it, the door was kicked hard and flew open. Lord Canon Jimenez walked in with 4 armed guards behind him. "Good morning, Widow Morales," Tannen said with a mean smile. He kicked a small wooden toy left by little William. "My guards saw a man dragging himself toward your house last night. We are here to make sure you have not taken in any dangerous people." Githa's heart beat fast, but she made her face look calm and confused. "A man, my lord? I saw no one. The wind was so loud I could barely hear my own goats." "Is that so?" Cannon stepped deeper into the cottage. His eyes looked around. He noticed the many blankets piled near the fire. "You live alone, but you have enough blankets for a big family." "I spin wool to sell in the spring, my lord," she lied calmly. Cannon's eyes became narrow. He walked around the small room. "There are rumors, Githa. Rumors of strange beasts in the woods. Rumors of a woman using dark magic and hiding creatures of the devil. A bad group of wolves in the north is offering a big reward for a missing royal pup with golden eyes. Githa froze. Cannon knew. He was not just a bad leader. He was working with the bad werewolves who were hunting the children. Suddenly a quiet sneeze came from under the floor. The room became completely silent. Cannon looked down at the wooden floor, then back at Githa. His smile became even more dangerous. "What do you keep in your cellar, widow?" Cannon asked as he pulled out his long sword. The sound of metal was like a warning of death in the small house. "Potatoes," Githa said in a low, serious voice. Her hands slowly moved behind her back toward the heavy iron hammer on the counter. "And I would ask you not to disturb them." "Let's check your harvest," Cannon said with mockery. He told his guards to open the cellar door. Just as a guard grabbed the iron ring, a loud, powerful roar shook the whole cottage. It was not a normal wolf howl. It was a sound of pure, strong power that broke the frost-covered windows. Outside, the trees seemed to explode with movement. A huge beast as big as a warhorse, covered in midnight black fur with melting snow, crashed into the front yard. The creature's eyes burned like two bright suns and showed complete power. King Henrik Osborne had come for his children. Broken glass fell like sharp diamonds as the big black wolf broke through the cottage window. The strong force sent the heavy oak table crashing into the stone fireplace, breaking it into small pieces. Lord Cannon Jimenez stepped back. His proud, mean look disappeared and became pure fear. The guards had no chance. King Henrik moved with smooth power, even though he was so big. With one swing of his huge clawed paw, the first guard flew against the wall and fell unconscious. The second and third guards dropped their swords and tried to run, but the Alpha King stopped them with a loud growl that made them fall to their knees in terror. Githa stayed pressed against the kitchen counter. Her fingers held tight to her husband's heaviest iron hammer. She watched in fear and wonder as the beast protected her home. But as the black wolf turned its golden eyes toward Cannon, a strong shake went through its big body. The beast stumbled. Its back legs gave out for a moment. The dark poison Richard had talked about was hurting the king's body and stopping his healing. Cannon saw the weakness. He quickly pulled a hidden curved dagger from his side. The blade shone with thick green poison. "Die, you beast!" Cannon screamed and lunged forward. He pushed the poisoned dagger deep into the spot between the wolf's strong shoulder and neck. A sound of terrible pain came from the beast. Henrik thrashed and snapped his jaws, but the wolf's bane quickly went into his blood. The great black wolf fell onto the wooden floor. His breathing became wet and weak. Cannon stood over the fallen king, laughing wildly, and raised his sword to cut off the Alpha's head. He never finished the swing. Stepping quietly from the kitchen shadows, Githa swung the heavy 20-pound iron hammer with all the strength her hard life had given her. The iron head hit the back of Cannon's skull with a terrible sound. The bad magistrate fell like a heavy stone. His sword dropped away harmlessly from the hurt king. Githa did not stop to think about what she had done. She dropped the hammer and rushed to the king's side. As she knelt down, the massive black wolf started shaking hard. His thick fur went away, his bones cracked and changed shape in a difficult way. Soon, a man lay on her floor. King Henrik Osborne was very handsome, even when he was close to death. He had a strong jaw, thick dark hair wet with sweat, and a muscular body marked by many fights. But the green lines spreading from the wounds needed help right away. "Stay with me," Githa said in a steady voice. She grabbed her warmest wool blankets and covered him to keep out the cold. Henrik's golden eyes opened and looked at her. They carried a very old tiredness. "The children," he said in a deep, rough voice. "They are safe," she told him. She ran to her cabinet of medicines. She gathered dried yarrow to stop bleeding, charcoal from the fire to fight the poison, crushed willow bark for pain, and strong spirits to clean the wound. She worked quickly and carefully. She cleaned the wound, put on the poultice, and wrapped his shoulder tightly. "You are Githa," he whispered as she saved his life. "And you are bleeding on my clean floors, your majesty," she replied in a dry way, even though her hands shook a little as she wiped sweat from his forehead. "I suppose I should bow, but I am busy keeping your heart beating." A weak laugh came from his chest. Richard chose well. Once the king was stable and resting by the warm fire, Githa opened the cellar door. One by one the pups came up the stairs. Little Tobias, still a pup, sniffed the air and made a happy sound. He ran across the room, changed into a 3-year-old boy while jumping, and hugged his father's side. The strong alpha king held his son tightly. Tears fell from his golden eyes. A warm feeling grew in her chest. She had been alone for 3 years in a cold world. Now, looking at the strong king and the children she protected, she saw she had made a family. But the peace did not last long. Cannon was gone, but the bad group hunting the royal children was still out there. Winter changed to freezing rain over the next 5 days. Henrik's healing was slow because of the poison, but the time in the small cottage made their bond very strong. Githa cooked, cared for his wounds, and kept the lively children happy. In return, Henrik watched her with strong attention. He admired her toughness, her quick thinking, and how bravely she told off his wild pups when they chewed her things. One evening, when the children were sleeping in a pile near the fire, Henrik slowly stood up. He walked over to where Githa was washing bowls. He stood very close. "You have given me back my soul, Githa," he said softly. She turned and was caught between him and the counter. She looked up into his golden eyes. "I only did what any good woman would do." "No," Henrik said gently. He touched a piece of her hair and left his fingers on her cheek. "You did what an alpha would do. You protected the weak when it was almost impossible. You have a heart that is more special than any treasure in my kingdom." Before Githa could answer, Henrik suddenly looked toward the door. His eyes changed. The gentle moment disappeared and became dangerous. "They are here," he growled and stepped in front of her. Outside, freezing rain hid the sounds, but Henrik's strong senses knew. A mean howl came through the valley. A voice full of bad pride called out, "Brother, I see you found a small warm place to die in." Henrik's jaw tightened. It was Arthur, his traitorous family member who had worked with bad people to take power. Githa looked through the window crack. Torches lit the trees. At least 50 armed men and big wolves surrounded the house. Arthur stood in front with his own corrupted yellow eyes. "I cannot fight 50 men and wolves when I am this weak," Henrik admitted. He turned to Githa with worry. "I will change and lead them away into the woods. You must take the children and run south to the coast." "No," Githa said with strong determination. "I did not spend the last month raising 5 wild wolf pups and keeping you alive, just to watch you die in my yard." Henrik looked surprised. Githa rushed to her medicine cabinet. "I am the healer of Oakhaven, Henrik. I know plants and mixtures. I know what happens when you mix raw wolfsbane, sulfur, and nightshade over fire." She quickly ground the plants and mixed them with black powder. "When I throw this in the fire, it will make a big cloud of bad smoke. It will come out the chimney and windows. It will not kill them, but it will make the bad wolves weak and blind the men for a while." Henrik smiled with strong determination. "You are very smart. They will be helpless." "Exactly," Githa said. She gave him a wet cloth. "Cover your face." She threw the mixture into the fire. There was a loud whoosh. Thick purple smoke poured out. Githa opened the door and windows. The wind pushed the smoke into the yard. Chaos started right away. The bad wolves coughed and fell. The men dropped their weapons and rubbed their eyes. Henrik did not wait. He changed into the big black wolf and crashed into the enemies. Even though he was still weak, he fought with the anger of a father protecting his children. He broke their weapons and fought Arthur. The fight was hard but quick. Arthur could not win without his tricks. Henrik pinned him down and made him give up. The other bad people ran away. The rebellion was over. Silence came back to the valley. Henrik changed back to a man. He was tired and muddy. He walked into the cottage where Githa stood with the 5 children. She still held the iron hammer. The king knelt before the human widow. "Arthur will face justice, and the bad group is finished," Henrik said. His golden eyes looked at her. "My kingdom is safe again. I am taking my children home." Githa felt pain in her chest. She lowered the hammer. "I understand. I will pack their things." "You do not understand," Henrik said softly. He took her rough hand and kissed it gently. "A kingdom means nothing without its heart. These children see you as their mother, and I see you as my equal, my partner. Come with us to the capital, rule by my side. Githa looked at him with tears in her eyes, as little Tobias hugged her leg. She looked at her small cottage that had been full of sadness, then at the strong king offering her a new life. She smiled and wiped a tear. Only if I can bring my goats. Henrik laughed loudly with joy. You shall have a royal herd, my queen. From the hard life of a lonely widow, a new strong family and rule began. Githa Morales left Oakhaven not as a simple woman, but as the loved queen of the Osborne pack. This showed that real power does not come only from family blood, but from a heart that opens to those who need help. This story teaches us many important lessons. Kindness and courage can change everything, even in dangerous times. Githa shows that one person can protect others and build a family through love and care, no matter how different they are. It reminds us that true leaders value fairness, protection, and strong bonds instead of power or cruelty. In real life, standing up for what is right, helping those in need, and working together can defeat bad plans. Family is not only about blood. It is about who we choose to love and protect. We should always be brave like Githa, wise like the healer. These values help make the world better and stronger for everyone. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave a comment below with your thoughts. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to bring you more amazing stories. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.